Good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. Hello, my name is Jeffrey Miller. You know that already. I am your instructor for drone, various drones, UAS instruction, wherever, whatever class this is that you are viewing this in. As I mentioned, teach this course over a few different, or teach this course material in bits and pieces in a few different courses, and each one is a little bit different depending on the institution I'm at. Anyways, yeah, today's lecture, and this is valid for everybody watching this, obviously. Today's lecture is about giving a general overview of the FAA rules and regulations. Just want to confirm that my screen is sharing. I'm going to trust that it is. Not seeing any additional buttons of how to confirm that, but I remember a few minutes ago that it said it was sharing on this screen, so I hope so. Anyways, let's get into it and begin. I don't have a ton of slides here, but relevant stuff to talk about. So what is this FAA Part 107 license? Well, there's an exam, okay? It's essentially passing an exam. And once you pass this exam, you get your FAA drone license. Part 107 or P107 is what it's most commonly referred to as. And this is necessary for any commercial or professional UAS operations, okay? So it really is kind of the barrier of entry for doing drone work for anything other than just fun recreation, right? You don't have to get it the moment you buy a drone, but you need to have it the moment you are performing services, or working at a company where you're doing work, actual job related work with UAS. It's a necessary thing, okay? And so it's just like, I guess, getting a license for driving a car. It's well, that's even, I guess, more strict, because you can go fly a drone for fun at the park without having this. Anyways, you have to get this, right? For anybody that's going to be taking this on in any formal capacity and as a profession or in a professional manner, this test, you have to pass this exam and get this license. There's a little picture of it, what it looks like. You get a actual hard, card in the mail, and after you pass it, it has all your information on there. So the FAA does keep track of you, and it's all done through, once it becomes official after you pass this exam. Now, you take the exam at a place called the Knowledge Testing Center, and it is proctored by this company called PSI. You can click on the links in the slides to find out more information. Okay, you make an appointment. Everything's done online. It's very straightforward and simple. There's a $150 fee, so you do have to pay that up front. And yeah, in my experience, appointments are available, at least out here where I'm at, within the next couple days. So there's not much of a delay on this. I mean, there certainly are people out there taking these tests, but I don't think these test centers are overwhelmed. Generally speaking, these are aviation related places. So like for me, I took mine at the Concord Airport, Buchanan Airport, like a building, where they do other aeronautical tests for, pilots, manned pilots. And so you basically fit right into that. And so it makes a lot of sense, because the FAA does treat drone piloting as another form of, legitimate flying. It's not necessarily a trivial thing anymore. And so let's see, when you pass your exam, your certification is valid for 2 years, okay, 2 years. And after those 2 years, there is a recurrent training. And this is something that just came out recently. There is a recurring training that is free, that you go on the FAA's website, and you basically just go through the online course and pass the online course material. There is some exam. I haven't done it myself. I've always done this through, doing the recurring testing. That's what it used to be. This is like going, this recurrent training that's free is only a thing that started in the spring of 2021. So anyways, it is still something that needs to be done every 2 years, and that keeps you current. Okay. So let's just get into the rules. Straightforward. Here we go. Aircraft requirements under Part 107. Your drone must, and these values, these little nuances, they may sound like they're not as important, but they really are. And the test questions will be, they will throw you off, because one slight change in the wording could be the difference in missing an answer or not. So a drone must weigh less than 55 pounds, okay? And it must be registered if it weighs more than 0.55 pounds. So where they came up with this 5.5 thing, maybe it was initially meant to be parallel and make it easy to remember the kind of the limit or the bottom and the top kind of limits. To me, it's confusing, but either way, that's how it is. So more than 0.55 pounds, which is the same as 250 grams. Okay, that comes up quite often when it comes to manufacturers, because those are registered in metric values. But yeah, according to the FAA test, it's going to be 0.55 pounds, no matter if you intend to use it recreational or commercial. That's an important thing. There is a distinction. Okay, so like I said, you have to get your P107 if you're going to do commercial work. That's the best designation I can give you. However, any drone that is going to be used for commercial or recreation, no matter what it is, as long as it is, if it is more than 0.55 pounds, it must be registered through the FAA on this thing called FAA Drone Zone, which we will describe much more as we go through this. There's a $5 fee. You basically put the serial number and other, what make or model it is, your account number. So every time you go, one of the first things you're going to need to do is create an account with the FAA, even if you haven't done your FAA, even if you haven't done your Part 107 test yet. But basically that becomes your hub for your exam information, your license information, your drone information, your special authorizations. It's all kind of housed in one place, which is quite nice. Anyways, once you register the drone, the FAA will then send you a special registration number, and it's their way of keeping track of your equipment, right? Because this is airspace. And let's be frank, safety is the number one concern for those guys. So that's where they're coming from. Okay. Let's see, operating rules. Let's go over and kind of bang out some of the big ones here. Under Part 107, the following general rules apply to all flights. Let's see, you can fly in what's called Class G airspace. That's a completely separate topic, but just kind of correlate in your mind that Class G means open airspace. Okay, open airspace for drones. And that's a good thing. There's especially, well, in urban areas, there's very little Class G airspace, but we have lots of instruction beyond just this section, and the airspace curriculum is more appropriate for discussing that in detail. You must keep your aircraft within visual line of sight. Okay, Visual line of sight, meaning you or your visual observer, okay, somebody that's next to you, that's standing next to you, or somebody that is communicating with you. It could be somebody on a radio or a phone that is, you know, a distance away. Whatever the case may be, there has to be some link between you're flying and a visual of the physical drone itself. Okay, so that's what they're considering visual line of sight. That must be maintained. Now, there are waivers to be exempt from that, but it's quite a process and something else we explain in more detail in a different section. Must fly under 400 feet. Okay, 400 feet is the drone ceiling. All right, 400 feet. Notice I've crossed out fly during the day. That was amended recently. You now can fly at night, given some modifications or considerations for the lighting that's on a drone. Must fly at or below 100 miles per hour. Sounds very fast, and that is obviously. I've never taken a drone, I don't even know, probably faster than 25 miles an hour or so, but I'm not in the drone racing space. For somebody that is, I imagine this is important. Anyways, it's out there, so you got to know it. Must yield to the right of way of manned aircraft. That's extremely important, okay? And on the test, there's going to be frequent questions like that about safety, okay? Safety. And so, you know, essentially what that means is, say there's a you know, low flying airplane, or there's a helicopter, you know, those are the two obvious ones, right? And if they're coming into your space where you're flying your drone, even if you have authorization to be there, they have the right of way. So as drone pilots, our responsibility is to move out of their space, yield to them. In my situations, you know, this is impromptu stuff, and it can happen. In my experience, I've been able to observe, you know, a potential hazard aircraft, and kind of lower my drone, almost even landing it in some circumstances. They say you can go above an aircraft if it's coming at you, you know, very quickly. That's a bit sketchy. I've heard people's stories about it though, okay? And it is actually allowed in an emergency situation, which this is considered. But yeah, again, you go on and on about the what ifs. The point of this bullet is that we must, as drone pilots, we must yield to the right of way of manned aircraft. Okay. Things that you cannot do. All right. Now, you cannot fly in class B, C, D, or E airspace without ATC, which stands for air traffic control permission. And there are some simple ways to get authorization and navigate through that, which we discuss in this course. And there are some not so simple ways. There are ways to get authorizations though. Okay. So it's none of these are 1000%. Well, I shouldn't say none of them. I haven't read through all of them yet, but I'll just put it this way. Most of them you can, you know, get a waiver or authorization, you know, approval for. Well, you can't fly your drone in a reckless manner. No one's going to give you approval for that. So I just stand it corrected. But yeah, fly beyond an unaided visual line of sight. We already said that. Fly using first-person goggles unless you have a visual observer. So yeah, that's those, you know, cover up your face kind of virtual reality thing. As long as somebody is with you and can point out like something's going on as your observer, those are totally fine. But you're not supposed to do it just by yourself. These are rules. I don't make them up. These are the rules. Fly more than one drone at a time. That doesn't mean that you and another person with you, you know, you're flying one drone, they're flying another drone. That's not what that's saying. It's basically saying that I'm not supposed to be flying two separate drones, just me. Okay. That's a no-no. Let's see, you cannot fly in the visibility of less than 3 miles from your control station. That's important. That's going to be an important one. Okay, 3 miles. They want you to have visibility. They want you to have visibility of 3 miles at least out. And so if there's foggy conditions or other cloudy conditions that are inhibiting your abilities to see beyond, see 3 miles away, then you're not supposed to fly. Okay. Fly beyond 400 feet above the ground level unless you are within 400 feet of a structure. So that's an interesting one. There's this kind of gray area there, I guess, in my opinion. But yeah, so say there's a structure, and I went back to this slide because I have a little picture of it here. But we have 400 feet, and then here's a very tall structure. So you are allowed to be you are allowed to go 400 feet higher than this. I'm not exactly sure what all of the designations of what makes a structure and what doesn't. I would just say anything that's above the ground that's attached to the ground is a structure. So buildings, towers like this, trees, that kind of stuff. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of a cushion, all things considered. You are not allowed to fly faster than 100 miles an hour. We already said that. Okay. A couple other amendments recently: fly over anyone who is not directly participating unless they are under a cover or structured vehicle, or fly from a moving vehicle unless you're in a sparsely populated area. Those rules have been slightly amended. Okay. And I think here is the answer. So here's your over people amendment. And it's still a little bit, let's say, restrictive, I guess. The ability to fly over people depends on the type of drone it is and what kind of quote unquote category it falls into. So any drones smaller than 0.55, that's that important number again, right? So or less than 250 grams, do not contain and do not contain exposed rotating parts that could lacerate human skin upon contact. Operations in sustained flights over open air assemblies and human must be voluntarily complied with. Anyways, yeah, that's essentially what that's saying is if you have a very, very small drone that's less than 250 grams, you can fly over people as long as you have what are known as prop guards or little, that's what you're supposed to do. Or the other way that I'm interpreting this is that the props are not strong enough to lacerate someone's skin, meaning that they don't, they won't cut you. So to me, there's some interpretation there. It really is. And, these are brand new as well, amendments. Frankly, I'm not personally a fan of those little prop guard things because they just are awkward. And so, yeah, I'm telling you what the rules are. I'm giving you kind of some anecdotal feedback in my opinion. For a drone that small with blades that are, an inch in size, I can't see how they would lacerate a human skin if it fell from the sky or something like that upon impact. I think that's up for debate, honestly. If you're answering the questions, on the test, go by these. Don't go by my opinions. Go by the language here. Okay, so then there's a second category. Let's see, cause injury to human beings equivalent or greater than the severity of injury caused to transfer 11 foot-pounds of kinetic energy, equivalent to the greater skin, 25 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. Basically 2 and 3, manufacturers must certify the drone is built on an FAA approved standard over people. Yeah, so those are like kind of future considerations for really any drones bigger than, like I said, or 250 grams or bigger. And so again, 0.55 pounds. And so it's kind of leaving, the FAA is leaving it up to the manufacturer to prove that if they fly over, if they make contact with people, that it's going to not transfer, it's not going to cause this amount of damage, 11 foot-pounds of kinetic energy. This stuff is still very new, and a lot of it is being kind of worked out. I would basically leave it up to this in terms of judgment. If you have a drone that's 250 grams or 0.55 pounds or bigger, you're really not supposed to be flying over people. Okay, that's my interpretation. And the last one is about Part 21, which is a delivery drones consideration. So that's like Amazon's problem to worry about. Okay. Over vehicles and at nighttime amendments. So small unmanned aircraft must remain within or over a closed restricted access site for all people inside a moving vehicle. Small unmanned, fly over them. Let me start over. There's a lot of words here. Small unmanned aircraft must remain within or over a closed or restricted access site, and all people inside the moving vehicle within the closed or restricted access site must be on notice that a small aircraft. So basically that's saying, if you're flying over vehicles, they should know about it. Let's see, the small aircraft does not maintain sustained flight over moving vehicles. So like if you're flying directly over the same moving vehicles all the time, those people should know about it. If it's scanning over moving vehicles and the people are inside the vehicles and they're protected, this amendment is saying it's okay to fly over vehicles. Okay. Again, if it's not in a maintained, in a sustained flight operation, right? But again, these are still kind of gray areas. That doesn't mean fly over a busy highway. That would obviously cause some friction, even if it's done safely. Yeah, anyways, let's keep going. Remote pilot and command must complete updated initial knowledge tests. So there is an updated training and test for, saying that I understand these new amendments. For the nighttime thing, aircraft must have lighted anti-collision lights visible for at least 3 miles, and that they have a flash rate sufficient enough to avoid collision. So again, being new, I think this is something that the FAA is trying to force upon manufacturers so that they build their hardware to conform to these standards. So lights that are built in, that are visible enough to be seen from 3 miles away if you're flying at night, then it's okay. Otherwise, you can install some aftermarket, modification lights to drones, and there's a market for that too. Other considerations: you are required to make your UAS available for inspection upon request. I put that on there because it is one of the questions, and that would be like, if as the pilot in charge, you are blank as the pilot in charge, you are required to blank, and then it has, every test question is 3 answers, multiple choice. And so one of them will be, make your UAS available for inspection upon request. Upon request by who? Well, that's not necessarily local authorities or local law enforcement, although I highly encourage you to not conform. If a police officer asks you, hey, what are you doing here? Let me see your drone or whatever. I would say comply to the best you can with that. So, But yeah, inspection upon by the FAA is what they're actually saying. And who is the FAA guy going out inspecting all these drones? I have no idea. Okay, it's just one of the questions. You are supposed to report an accident, any accident that results in a serious injury or property damage of more than $500. Okay, that's an important number. So say your drone falls and just the drone breaks and it was less than a $500 drone, okay, that's on you. If your drone falls and it, breaks a window or breaks, I don't know, some other kinds of property damage, or hurts somebody and there's physical damage and medical bills or whatever, that kind of thing involved, you are supposed to report that to the FAA. And that again is done through FAA Drone Zone. Okay. Here we are. So FAA Drone Zone, the drone registration, we're back to that. All drones designated for Part 107, they have to be individually registered. And like I said, any drones 0.55 or larger. Okay. Let's see. We already talked about a lot of this stuff. Needs to register themselves. Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. I'm just rereading something here. If it's under Part 107, every single individual drone has to be, so say you're a company and you have a fleet of 10 drones, every single one of those has to be registered individually. If it's a recreation use, so you just do this for fun and you have 10 different fun drones you go out and do, the only thing you need to do is register once as the pilot for, and it will ask you, is this for P107 use or is this for recreation use? Okay. In that case, for recreation, each drone will have the same registration number. All right. Let's see, drone registration, again, 0.552. And again, I put this number here to try to be very specific. 0.55 to 54.9 pounds. So that's the window there. Okay. Notice 55 pounds or above. That's different. Okay. Or less than 55 pounds, right? Anyways, this is the FAA Drone Zone website. It's pretty straightforward, very simple. Yeah, I would say don't overpay for like a registration service. It's not necessary whatsoever. It takes, half an hour to get involved in this just on the Drone Zone website. Those registration services are meant for large enterprises. I'll just throw out like PG&E, for example. Maybe they have a fleet of 1,000 drones or 100 drones or whatever it is. That can be kind of cumbersome to have one guy going and doing this all the time. But anyways, your drone registration is good for 3 years and it costs $5 to complete. Okay. Now, thinking about how the best way to go to do this, I sometimes in other lectures, I will play if I have other resources, like in this case, I have another guy that I'm pulling some kind of just bang stuff at you from YouTube. I'm not gonna actually show it here. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to click on this YouTube link. And so if you're just watching the video, go find the PowerPoint slides in the module and click on this YouTube link. And then you don't need to watch it, don't watch it just all the way complete. You can, but for this particular section, because I have other modules where I'm coming back to this. So I have broken down this video into like, here's the guts that you need for this section. So don't go beyond it is my recommendation here. But basically this is saying start at 0. And let's see, drone laws and numbers. Why is none of this relevant to drones? So watch from the beginning and then stop at 1428. Okay. Those are some of the highlights where this YouTuber goes and basically goes from one topic to the next. So yeah, we obviously covered things here, but this guy does a really great job of reinforcing those things. So we'll come back to him throughout this course. Okay, I think that's gonna do it. Okay, I'm going to end my slideshow here. Stop my share. All right, here we go. So that's it for FAA drone rules and regulations. I know may not have seemed like that long of a section. Yeah, there's a lot to it, but at the same point, once you kind of get the gist of the general rules down, those are pretty straightforward. And like I said, watch the YouTube video. That's an additional 15 minutes for you that I want you to invest some time in. And upon doing that, you should be ready to complete the module and finish the assignments for this module. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will see you next time, and have a good rest of your day. Bye for now.